both eyes, as you see in the second picture. And this is because the distance between the eyes which is responsible for binocular vision. So it is important that when you survey the cast, your one eye should be closed. So therefore it is important that the preparation is be viewed with one eye closed. So when you examine the preparation in the patient's mouth with the help of the mirror, again, preparation in the mouth are viewed through a mouth mirror using one eye. So now in these pictures, in the first box, there are three pictures, A, B, and C. So in the picture A, like the path of insertion of a preparation of the metal ceramic crown should be parallel to the long axis of the tooth. As you see the arrow sign, it is along the long axis of the tooth. Okay, so in first box, in the first picture A, it represents the path of insertion of the of this maxillary central incisor maxillary ceramic crown should parallel the long axis of the tooth. And in the B, the path of insertion is slightly facial. Okay, if the path of insertion is directed facially, so what problem we will encounter? The prominent of the facio-incisal angle may create aesthetic problems. So we encountered the aesthetic problem if we set the path of insertion facially. Okay, so it can create aesthetic problems of over contouring or opaque show through. And in the C, you see the path of insertion is directed facially or lingually. So again, we have problem when we set the path of insertion lingually, that we encountered the problem like it encroach on the pulp. So so the principle is when we plan the path of insertion, it should be along the long axis of the tooth. So in the second box, there are two pictures, A and B. So in these pictures, we will see that these are the partial coverage crown preparation done. In picture A, the partial coverage crown preparation is done on the maxillary posterior tooth, premolar. Okay. So in this, the path of insertion is along the long axis of the tooth. Okay. In second picture B, okay, this is the anterior tooth. Again, it is the prepared tooth for the partial coverage crown. So in this, the path of insertion is parallel to the incisal one half of the tooth structure. So when we viewed the anterior teeth are present in two planes. Okay, as you see in picture B, the dotted line on the facial surface, it touch on the incisal half only, not in the cervical half. Okay, so the anterior teeth are present in two planes, incisal half and cervical half. So the path of insertion we set for partial coverage crown, okay, along the parallel to the incisal half. So in the last box, there are again two pictures, A and B. So in picture A, you see the path of insertion along the long axis of the tooth. Okay, so if it is not parallel to the incisal one half of the tooth, if it is not parallel to the adjacent proximal context, then we cannot able to seat the crown in the desired position. So the summary is like the path of insertion is very important. Okay, it should be along the long axis of the tooth, so it will provide retention as well. It will provide good features. Okay, and the path of insertion should be parallel to the adjacent proximal contact of the teeth. Okay, so now comes the structural durability. This is the third principle of tooth preparation. So what do you mean by structural durability? It means that restoration must contain a bulk of material adequate to withstand the forces of occlusion. Okay. So structural durability is basically the bulk of material should be present. The bulk of material should be present, which ensures the forces of mastication or forces of occlusion. Okay, so the restoration must contain a bulk of material adequate to withstand the forces of occlusion or forces of mastication. So how we will provide structural durability in our crown? That number one, we have to provide adequate occlusal reduction. Number two, that we will provide functional cusp bevel. And number three, we should provide adequate axial reduction. So the restoration must contains a bulk of material that is adequate to withstand the forces of occlusion and forces of mastication as well. So this bulk must be confined to the space created by the tooth preparation. So only in this way can the occlusion on the restoration be harmonious and axial contours normal, preventing periodontal problems around the restoration. So in structure durability, we ensures the bulk of the uniform bulk of the material. Okay, it ensures the structural durability. So first point is to provide the adequate occlusal reduction. So there are two boxes. In first box, you see the two pictures. In first picture, it returns inadequate. You see in the central groove area, the preparation is not good, is not up to the mark. So at that area, the material having very thin, the material is not up to the mark. Okay, there is no bulk of the material. I'm repeating it again. In first box, in first picture where it is written inadequate, you see the central groove area on the occlusal surface. Okay, the preparation is not good. Okay, so in second picture, you see in the central groove area, there is a uniform reduction of the occlusal surface. So when you people are reducing the occlusal surface, you should reduce uniformly and also follow the morphology of the occlusal anatomy and reduce accordingly. That is called planar occlusal reduction. So when we reduce uniformly, it ensures the uniform bulk of the material over the occlusal surface, and it will provide structural durability. Okay, now see in the next box, second box, again there are two pictures. The first picture is correct. So you see in first picture, the reduction is according to the morphology of the occlusal anatomy. Okay, that is called planar occlusal reduction, and also provided by the functional cusp bevel. And in second picture where it is written incorrect, okay, you see the occlusal surface during preparation made flat. If you make the flat occlusal surface, it will not provide structural durability. So we will provide adequate occlusal reduction. Adequate occlusal reduction means that we have to reduce within the limits. Okay, we not over reduce it. If we done over reduction, then we violate the first principle, which was like preservation of tooth structure. So for cast metal crowns or all metal crowns, we have to reduce the occlusal surface functional cusp 1.5 millimeter and non-functional cusp 1 millimeter. And for metal ceramic crown means when we prepare the tooth for metal ceramic crown, so two materials are involved. One is metal and one is ceramic. So criteria will be little bit different. So we reduce the occlusal surface from functional cusp 2 millimeter and non-functional cusp 1.5 millimeter. Okay, again for full ceramic crown, we have to reduce the occlusal surface uniformly 2 millimeter. Okay, so these are the criteria for the different materials we are using. Okay, if we are preparing the tooth surface for an all metal crown, we have to reduce the occlusal surface functional cusp 1.5 millimeter, non-functional cusp 1 millimeter. Okay, or if we are preparing the tooth for the metal ceramic crown, then we have to reduce the functional cusp up to 2 millimeter and non-functional cusp 1.5 millimeter. And if we are preparing the tooth structure for the full ceramic crown, then we have to reduce the occlusal surface 2 millimeter uniformly. Okay, if we are reducing more than these values, okay, so then we are doing the we are violating the first principle, which is preservation of the tooth structure. So that's why we are providing only the adequate tooth reduction, occlusal reduction. So the second thing which ensures the structure durability is the functional cusp bevel. Okay, so what is functional cusp bevel? That we are providing a bevel on the functional cusp. For example, if we are doing the tooth preparation on the posterior mandibular teeth, so functional cusp are the buccal cusp. So we are providing the functional cusp bevel on the buccal cusp. Okay, or if we are preparing a maxillary posterior tooth, so buccal cusp, so the functional cusp are the palatal cusp. So we are providing functional cusp bevel on the palatal cusp. Okay, I am repeating it again, that functional cusp bevel is provided on the functional cusp. If we are preparing the mandibular posterior teeth, the functional cusp are the buccal cusp. Or when we are doing the preparation on the maxillary posterior teeth, the functional cusp are the palatal cusp. So functional cusp bevel is basically provided on the functional cusp. So how we provide functional cusp bevel? That at a degree of 45-degree angle, we will provide a slope of width of 1.5 millimeter, as you see in the first box picture. So functional cusp bevel is an integral part of the occlusal reduction. So in the second box, there are two pictures. So in first picture, in which shows that there is no functional cusp bevel is provided. You see the arrow pointed. Lack of functional cusp bevel can cause thin area or perforation in the casting. So when we will not provide the functional cusp bevel, it will not ensure the structural durability of the crown. So again, in the second picture, in the second box, the lack of functional cusp bevel may result in over contouring and poor occlusion as well. So all these problems encountered when we will not provide the functional cusp bevel. So the third point which ensures the structural durability is the axial reduction. Okay, so there are two boxes. In first box, you see there is excessive axial inclination, means there is over reduction. When we are doing over reduction, what will happen? Like when we making the crown, it will be made bulbous or over contoured restoration and not aesthetically good. So patient crowns. So when we are performing the excessive axial inclination or over reduction, then the crown made on that preparation will be bulbous or over contoured restoration and not aesthetically good, and patient will not accept that kind of crown. So in second box, you see the inadequate axial reduction. Inadequate axial reduction means, for example, if we want to reduce the axial surface 1 millimeter, okay, and we will reduce the axial reduction about 0.5 millimeter, then it means it is inadequate. We will not perform 1 millimeter up to the mark. So what will happen? Like the wall becomes thin, the restoration walls become thin, the crown walls become thin, and the restoration like crown is having weak restoration. It will not provide the structural durability. Okay, I am repeating it again, that if we will not provide if we will provide inadequate axial reduction. Inadequate axial reduction means less axial reduction. Okay, for example, if we want to reduce 1 millimeter and we will performing 0.5 millimeter, this is called inadequate reduction or less axial reduction. What will happen? The wall becomes thin and the restoration becomes weak and will not provide structural durability. Okay, so in axial reduction, there are two things. Number one, we will not over reduce the axial walls, excessive axial inclination, what will happen? The crown made becomes bulbous or over contoured and not aesthetically good. And second thing, in axial reduction, on other hand, if we will reduce less amount of the axial reduction, inadequate axial reduction, the wall becomes thin and the becomes weak and will not provide structural durability. So again, you see in this picture, like this picture shows the preparation of the three-quarter crown. Okay, three-quarter crown. So the three-quarter crown is reinforced. So in the three-quarter crown preparation, we will provide certain features like grooves, offset. Okay, grooves, offset. These are the special features which we will incorporate in the preparation for the three-quarter crown to enhance the retention, to enhance the structural durability. So these three-quarter crown is reinforced by the bulk of material that fills the offset and the grooves. So in these grooves on the offset, the bulk of material fills in it and provide the structural durability. So now comes the marginal integrity. So basically the marginal integrity is the fourth point of the principles of the tooth preparation. So the restoration can survive in the biologic environment of the oral cavity only if the margins are closely adapted to the cavo surface finish line of the preparation. It means that there should be no gap between the finish line and the prepared crown margin. So the configuration of the preparation finish line dictate the shape and bulk of restorative material in the margin of the restoration. It also can affect both marginal adaptation and degree of seating of the restoration. So the finish line, so marginal integrity basically is the finish line. So first of all, I will like there are different types of the margin, like chamfer margin, shoulder margin, and shoulder with bevel. So basically we will follow the two main, like chamfer finish line and the shoulder finish line. So remember, in the chamfer finish line, we will provide in all metal. For all metal, we will provide the chamfer finish line, and the width of the chamfer finish line should be 0.5 millimeter. Okay, I am repeating again. For chamfer finish line, we will provide chamfer finish line for all metal, and the depth and the width of the chamfer finish line is 0.5 millimeter. And for the shoulder finish line, so shoulder finish line, and one thing more, like chamfer finish line, we will make the chamfer finish line with the torpedo burr. Okay, so there are two things. Chamfer finish line we will make for all metal. We will made it with the torpedo burr, and the width of the chamfer finish line is 0.5 millimeter. So for the shoulder finish line, we will make the shoulder finish line with the flat and tapered diamond burr, and we made shoulder finish line for metal ceramic preparations and for the all ceramic crown preparations. Okay, for shoulder finish line we will provide for the metal ceramic crowns and for the all ceramic crown, and we made the shoulder finish line with the flat and tapered diamond burr, and the width of the shoulder finish line is 1 millimeter. Okay, so again, shoulder with bevel on the occlusal shoulder of an mesioclusal distal only preparation. So these are the types for the finish line, which ensures the marginal integrity. Basically, there should be a continuity of finish line, and when we prepare the crown, there should be no gap between the finish line and the crown margin. It ensures the marginal integrity. Now this comes the fifth principle, the preservation of the periodontium. So the placement of the finish lines has a direct bearing on the ease of fabricating a restoration, on the ultimate success of the restoration. So the best result can be expected from margins that are as smooth as possible and are fully exposed to cleansing. So whenever possible, the finish line should be placed in an area where margins of restoration can be finished by the dentist and kept clean by the patient. For example, the finish line. So according to the location, there are three types of the finish line. That supragingival finish line means we finish the finish line above the cervical margin of the gums, above the gingival margin. That is called supragingival finish line. And second is equigingival. Equigingival means that we finish the finish line, we made the finish line at the level of the gingival margin. That is called equigingival finish line. And third one is subgingival finish line. It means that we made the finish line below the level of the marginal gingiva. That is called subgingival finish line. So the best one is the supragingival finish line, because it is very easy to make supragingival finish line by the dentist. It is very easy to kept clean by the patient if when we made the supragingival finish line, and it is very easy to examine by the dentist in the follow-up visits. So there are a lot of benefits for the supragingival finish line. Supragingival finish line means that we made the finish line 0.5 millimeter above the gingival margin. That is called supragingival finish line. So in addition, finish lines must be placed so that they can be duplicated by the impression without tearing or deforming the impression when it is removed past them. So the finish lines should be placed in enamel when it is possible to do so. So it is this point is very important, that we made the finish line in the enamel. We cannot perforate it into the dentine. If we perforate it into the dentine, then what will happen? The sensitivity will develop. So in the past, the traditional concept was to place the margin as far subgingivally as possible, based on the mistaken concept that subgingival sulcus is caries free. But that was not true. So the practice of routinely placing margin subgingivally is no longer acceptable. Okay, it's no longer acceptable. When we provide the subgingival finish line, it is very difficult to clean by the patient. It is very difficult to made by the dentist, and it is very difficult to examine on the follow-up visit. Okay, so now the concept is changed. The subgingival finish line is no longer acceptable. So we are providing the supragingival finish line. So subgingival restoration have been described as a major etiological factor in periodontitis. So when we will give the subgingival finish line, it will provide the infection which is called periodontitis. Okay, so now it is no longer acceptable. Now we are providing the supragingival finish line or equigingival finish line. So deeper the restoration margin resides in the gingival sulcus, greater the inflammatory response. So it is summarized that there is a lot of benefits for the supragingival finish line. Number one, it is very easy to made by the dentist. It is very easy to keep clean by the patient, and it is very easy to be examined in future follow-up visits. So now in our daily practice, we are making the finish line supragingival or equigingival. That is good for patient, and that is also good for the periodontal health. So thank you very much. You are welcome to ask any question. You are welcome to ask any question. Okay, thank you very much.